We learned a lot in today's episode. You could say it was a real tell-all. A tell-all. A tell. David Tell. Get it? Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I love this song.
I don't get it.
I don't know if you guys noticed, this was playing in the background of the restaurant with Julie, which is the name of today's episode of Crashing.
Oh,
Julie. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Crashing After Show. Thanks for sticking around even after my terrible intro.
It was a beautiful
I loved
intro.
it.
What are you talking about?
You
Thank
killed
you,
it.
guys.
I still don't get it.
Guys, my name is Jeff Graham. Welcome to the Crashing After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. If you want to find me online, you can do so at Jeffrey C. Graham. Today we're talking about episode 7 called Julie. If you're watching, you could be listening. If you're listening, you could be watching. So many options for consumption. But however you're doing it, give us a 5-star rating or a like or a subscription or whatever you do on the internet. I don't really know.
The most easiest way for you to tell us that you love us and that you like us.
Just comment. I feel like we're getting likes, but I'd love for someone to just be like, hey,
love you guys.
I exist. Anyway, speaking of social media, how about the rest of you guys? Where can they find you on the internet?
Rips.
My name is Michael Rippe. You can catch me on social media at Mike Rips.
I'm Josh Rodriguez. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Josh_Rodriguez_.
You can find me on Instagram at Mina Makes Magic.
Well, guys, this is the penultimate episode of this season. We only have one more after this.
Crazy.
And I felt like a lot happened. I liked the episode a lot. I'm curious to hear what you guys thought of the episode.
It was pretty funny. It ended on such a high note. Well, actually a sad note, but
Entertaining.
Yeah, very entertaining.
A very humbling episode. for
Yes,
me.
good word.
Very humbling.
Yeah, I don't think I was that big a fan of today's episode, to be honest.
Ooh.
I didn't hate it. I just
Any specific reasons why, or just a general?
I didn't think it was that funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, I thought this episode was very funny, but it was also, like, pretty cringe. Like, if I think of Judd Apatow's humor, I feel like this episode was really the encapsulation of it.
That might be why I liked it so much. 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like I like anything that he
He wrote
creates.
this episode.
Yeah.
But situations like the one we saw at the end of the episode are a very, like, Judd Apatow move. Like, let's put this character in the least comfortable situation possible. I liked this episode a lot. I thought it was very funny. And again, I thought it was a great intersection of his personal life and his professional life, which we've kind of been talking about. What do we prefer? And I think we prefer it most when they kind of come together.
Yeah.
I think I want to talk first about Pete's personal life, because that to me was the most interesting thing about the episode. We meet this new character named Julie, played by Jen Lyon, who, first of all, I thought she performed the role great. I don't know. She's on a new show coming out on TNT called Claws, just so you know. So
Nice little plug there.
up and up for Jen Lyon, who played Julie. But this is Leaf's wife. Did this surprise you guys?
She does not seem like I can't imagine them together for some reason.
Not at all.
Yeah.
They're not together anymore.
They're not together anymore. Yeah, exactly. But that's because Leaf cheated, and she had no idea.
It's funny how she's breaking the news to Pete.
Yeah, I thought this scene was fun to watch Pete Holmes play this, like, as an actor, I thought. I think, like, one of the things I've been seeing in reviews is people like the show. Sometimes they're like, we're not sure he's, like, an amazing actor. We're not sure if he's really being stretched because he's kind of playing a version of himself. But I thought this was a great scene for him as a performer, because to watch him realize, first of all, that Leaf is married. Second of all, that she had no idea he was cheating on her. And for him to have to play as if he'd been hearing it for the first time, I thought was really funny and really well performed.
Yeah.
You brought up that you were surprised that this is the person Leaf would be married to.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
I don't know, she's very dominant, and Leaf is really laid back, but she's dominant in a way that kind of reminds me of that one girl from Sex and the City, Samantha. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really watch
So,
that show,
and very sexual, but not in a hippie way that Leaf is like.
just like an aggressive way.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of an alpha.
Yes.
It kind of makes sense to me, though. It's like yin and yang.
Yeah.
They're different. So and he even says how he's like the home wife.
Right.
It's
Well, it was
Hey.
kind of the same dynamic as Pete and Jess, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Where Leaf is kind of the Pete and what's her name? Julie was kind of the Jess in the situation. I was just surprised that Leaf was married. Like, that twist was very interesting to me, because I always got the impression he was just doing his own thing. So.
How does she have millions of dollars? What does she do? Like, I want
Business.
to know what her business.
I think this is why I didn't like the episode as much as you guys.
Yeah.
Just because there's a lot of variables that are just thrown out there now that take away from Pete's crashing.
That's
He's no
really,
longer really crashing it. He's too confident right now.
yeah, that's
like,
a really interesting point.
But he did come down crashing towards the end.
Towards
of
the
the
end,
episode.
I
And a couple
agree, but-
times during the episode too. You know, when he was bragging about being a comic for the Rachel Ray show.
Yeah.
But yeah, they started to bring him back,
Yeah.
but I felt like he's like too confident. He's too good now. I thought it was. I liked when he was struggling so much, and there was like little wins. Now I feel like he's totally dominating, and now it's like
But it's kind of comical, like how he
Kinda.
has this huge ego and he's doing warm up. He hasn't even made it yet. He's not necessarily.
Well, but David Tell kind of like gives him like you've already kind of made it the way that David Tell talks to him and
Yeah.
the advice he gives. So I don't know. I think I just liked because I liked when he was struggling more, and there was like a comedy in the struggle. Now the comedy is kind of that Leaf's wife wants to have sex with him, and it's just changing quickly, the dynamic, I guess. I think because they only had eight episodes, not knowing if it's going to get picked up, they kind of like feel like this is a little rushed to this area, not knowing if you're going to have another season to play it out. That's just how I feel.
That's a good point. Like, you kind of felt like the introduction of personal conflict felt kind of forced in this episode, maybe.
And it's quickly, we've moved off of like Pete in episode 2 to Pete in episode 7 of the season is totally different. And so many new variables that now there's money involved. I don't know.
And he's
Yeah.
dropping the F-bomb every second,
just-
and it sounds so unnatural. Like, even when he's trying to, like, be rough and tough.
Yeah.
It's
Let's
like
talk about
you
that.
laugh because it's so stupid. Like, you're just
I
looking
read
at-
that in some other review of this episode was that like they didn't buy that Pete would enter blue material, like rough material, as quickly as he did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did that feel out of character for you guys?
Not necessarily the material, but how he was speaking in his social interactions, like dropping the F-bomb and like being very aggressive, and it was out of character. But the material itself, I don't feel like it was necessarily crass. I feel like the audience led his material for him. So it was almost like he didn't have control over the audience, and he was going with whatever was being thrown at him and just going with the
Agreed.
flow of that. So I don't think, I mean, that part was believable because he wasn't the one initiating. He was just trying to, like, go along with it, and he's
room.
happy people were laughing.
He was gauging the room.
But
Yeah.
you can still pull back though. You can still have control in that situation. Just the last situation at the end where he was adding up how many blowjobs you gave in 52.
Let's go ahead and talk about that scene because
Yeah.
it was the penultimate scene, and I
Yeah.
thought it was great.
So funny.
So yeah, we're talking about Julie. Actually, let's hold that thought because
Yeah,
I really want to
same.
dig into that scene. But I'm glad you guys are bringing up stuff now about it. The thing that you brought up that I thought was really interesting was that you've seen Pete change depending on who he's talking to. Were you talking specifically about the conversation he was having with Attell outside of when he was smoking and like dropping the F-bomb and?
Oh, I was talking more about, like, his stand-up
His
material.
stand-up,
Like, if someone in the audience would say something or would, like, kind of heckle, he would be like, oh, okay, and he would let that take the lead. And even when he tried to stop it, and when he would say, oh, not really Rachel Ray material, he still let the audience control it and still went with it because he
This
wanted...
is what I thought was
Yeah.
interesting, though, was that, like, I feel like that's realistic. Like, I feel
Yeah,
like
it was believable
it was
for me.
believable, yeah. Like, I liked how he kind of changed around Attell. Like, he was trying to seem cool.
Yeah.
Because I think that's something we all do, right? Like, if we're around one of our heroes, we might kind of change the way we act or talk.
I also think he wasn't so much. I think his just character has changed because even the way he's in the comedy club and now he's like he's got this new job. He wants to be introduced like I'm the warm-up guy for Rachel Ray.
Yeah.
He's feeling so confident.
But I think he just changed for this episode and this episode only. And I think the end of the episode showed that he got brought back down to earth. And even during the episode, like I said before, he got brought back down to earth. I don't think
It wasn't enough.
it was
though.
very
It's-
temporary.
It was pretty
It's
temporary.
fleeting. Like I need more of him really down in his.
You need him to really crash and stay over someone else's apartment.
Yeah, we got plenty of time for him to be good and warming up for Rachel and all these
Yeah.
other positives. I don't know. I enjoy the comedy and the struggle.
Yeah, you were kind of bored this episode, it sounds like, with his
It's-
success. I get it. Yeah.
It's so easy to get to the successful point. Like,
Right.
let's linger in the middle maybe more. Not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He did escalate quickly. I mean, like, considering he kind of just started taking stand-up seriously 10 days ago, for him to get a warm-up gig happened pretty quickly.
But I feel like that's how real life is. Like sometimes you just get super lucky and you grind it out and you run into someone and they offer you an opportunity and you have to seize it.
It just seems just from the character that Pete Holmes was playing for the first 4 episodes of Crashing, like he couldn't find $1 on the street.
Yeah.
And now he's telling the guy like the warm up, and he's just so confident that it seems too much. It's just too drastic of a change for me to accept quickly.
Well, he definitely paid the price for it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that last scene. But this was very interesting to me because it felt like this interesting balance because I do think Pete came out with unnecessary ego and he quit his job at the Boston because he had this warm-up gig now, and he asked, as you mentioned, to stand up. Who was that? Dave
Apatow?
No, it wasn't Attell. It was Morongo. Sam Morongo, I think is his name. I don't know if I'm getting that wrong, but let us know in the comments. But anyway, he was introduced as the warm-up.
Matt Morano.
Yeah, Matt Morano, that's right, thank you.
Yeah.
And they kind of embarrassed him by saying, like, oh, we're all comedians go to die. But it's interesting because I did think it was a two-way street where on one hand, Pete was being very arrogant, but there was a lot of bitterness and resentment from other comics about him getting the gig. Mm-hmm. Did you guys pick up on that? Like, that people were kind of jealous of what he got?
I didn't.
They were trying to put them in. I felt like that one guy was trying to put him in his place, not necessarily jealous. They're like, relax, you're a warm-up comic. You still have to pay your dues. Like, these other people have been doing it for 10 years, 12 years, whatever. Right. You just got this. Relax.
And not only that, I don't think that's the end game for these comics. I mean, to them, it's like, all right, you got a warm-up gig, so what?
Right.
Like, I don't want a warm-up gig. Like, I want to be a top
headliner.
I want a headliner. I want to have my own show. I want to tour the country. They don't want a warm-up gig. To them, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. And I think it would have been, they could have added to that. Like, it could have been funny if the guys were making fun of him, be like, yeah, one day you could warm up for me or something.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I just felt like that was their way. The writing in this episode, it felt like that was the way to level off his arrogance by them kind of cutting him down in a sense. But
They kind of did, though.
I know what you like. The whole thing of like.
I even felt like when Dave Attell was saying no, it's a good gig. I felt like he was just trying to like cheer him up a little and be like, oh, you got yourself like a solid job. Like, I don't feel like he thought it was that great. Like, he's just being nice.
I thought that Dave Attell was like super positive and like, wow, really like,
I wasn't
this
expecting
is
that.
really like awesome for you. And he like, I've seen Dave Attell, and it just seemed like that was his personality. He was playing himself, like really like, good for you. Like, this is awesome. He's boosting him up. I didn't sense that he was negative.
I didn't read it that way. No, he definitely wasn't being negative. I thought he just was like, oh, like whatever. Oh, it's great. Good for you.
Because he
like,
told him
keep
it
at
was like the pinnacle. He's like,
That's what I think.
That's what I was like, wow.
I don't know.
I mean, that's an interesting point. So you think he was just being nice for the sake of making Pete feel better, and you think he might have been
I
being
felt like
serious.
he had the attitude where it's like, that's a great start.
Right.
Like, not that it's amazing, but like, he's like, oh, are you doing late night? Are you doing this?
Right.
Like, you're doing a Tonight Show? He's like, oh, I'm doing Rachel Ray. Oh, like, good start.
I didn't think that it was even. I thought he was stretching Dave Attell to compliment him. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't actually think it was that big a deal. And Dave Attell's like, no, this is, you reached it. Like, you know,
I
that's how
agree.
surprised by that.
And the way I kind of read all of this is that, like, we did see, like, resentment from, gosh, I forget his name on the show, but Dov Davidoff, who's the manager at the Boston. I kind of thought it was bitterness and resentment, like, oh, you didn't pay your dues, this isn't fair. Whereas Dave Attell, who's an established comic, can recognize, be like, oh, good for you, man, like, this is a great gig. And there is, like, on one hand, of course, the dream for a stand-up is to be headlining and touring, but that's so rare. So to be getting paid to do something you like in entertainment is, especially that early on, kind of is the dream to me. And I don't know. I thought this was, like, a very interesting navigation of, like, sure, Pete's being arrogant about his warm-up gig, and sure, all the other stand-ups are saying, like, pay your dues, pay your dues, pay your dues. But I do think it was a great position for Pete that he kind of let go. I guess with that, I am interested to talk about. Well, it was fun to see Leaf come back. I don't know. I want to talk about the scene really quickly.
Yeah,
where
how do you randomly find him on the street?
For tweets.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Right?
Just
like,
I just like find myself liking Leaf more and more every episode.
You liked him this episode? He's being very vulnerable this episode for the first time.
Yeah, what do you mean,
so
Josh?
vulnerable.
I mean, he just seemed like he wasn't in control of any situation,
Yeah.
and that he just had no grip of like his emotions, and he was desperate.
He was desperate, which was fun to see him in that position. But the thing I loved was, like, he walked up to Pete after the set. He's like, dude, well, first of all, how'd it go? Did it go okay? And, like, he was, like, honestly asking how the set went. It's just, like, lovely. I really want to book George Basil next season if we can. I don't know if he'll still be around or
It'd
not.
be a fun
but
interview.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess at this point, I do really want to talk about the way this episode ended, because we got to see Pete on the set of Rachel Ray a lot. I thought this was very funny stuff. And he is great at warm-up. I mean, like, I think he's great for a Midwestern audience. It's funny for him to be performing for, like, 95% women in their 40s, and they love him. You know, we see them exiting the audience saying how much they love him. And he kind of...
Can I just ask you something?
Yeah.
Women in their 40s?
Oh, do you think older than that?
It seemed like the ones that were exiting were
Yeah,
being very
yeah.
generous right now. Just
I guess you're right.
very generous on that.
I'm a bad guesser
Which I
at age.
appreciate.
No, that's true. You're right. I mean, like, even them, a lot of them were older.
It seemed like a grandma was like, this, you know?
You're probably right. Oh, you know what, Marissa? I love that note, and I did forget to grab it. So if you get someone to deliver us that would be wonderful. But yeah, this was really, really interesting. We saw Vanessa Bayer. I'm a big fan of her. She's on SNL right now. And, but so Pete starts to do some blue material. So Mina, I really liked what you brought up about this. You kind of thought he was just following what the crowd wanted to hear.
Yeah, I feel like it started out... I mean, he was also thrown off in so many ways. Like, he wasn't in the right space because of his, what's her name? Julie Brigante?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
because he ran into her and he was being very open about, you know, how he was being cheated on and all these other things. So, he wasn't in his element at all. So
Yeah.
it was a little difficult for him to come back from that. So he was a little off balance. He even tripped. So quite literally off balance.
Were you guys surprised to see Julie in the audience?
No,
Yeah,
I wasn't.
I
saw it
was
coming.
surprised to see her there. Why was she there?
Why was she there? But at the same time, I mean,
It's
Well,
TV.
yeah, it's
Yeah, well, I think my whole takeaway about Leaf and Julie, especially, is that like Leaf ruined Pete's life to start.
Yeah.
He's now getting a divorce, right? And now Leaf's wife is like, he's finally successful. Now Leaf's wife is kind of ruining his successful time. Like Leaf is just continuously ruining Pete's life.
He didn't listen to the heart with a little mouth in his
Oh, yeah.
Such a funny line. Yeah, this really surprised me, and I thought it was really good writing because, like, it was the perfect way to have the personal problems in Pete's life intersect the professional problems in his life. And I thought it was just really well written, and it really surprised me. I think what Pete should have done was satisfied his hunger cravings as a stand-up comic, just as we need to satisfy our hunger cravings as human beings. Thank you very much for the world's worst transition.
No, that was a fantastic.
Good at that.
This transition
So good.
does come on behalf of the fact that our shows come to you guys for free, and we're so grateful to be partnering with Blue Apron. If you guys are podcast fans, you've probably heard a lot about Blue Apron. They partner with a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, I'm literally trying it. I'm getting a delivery on Saturday.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I'm so excited that you'll get to. I'm a user, and the nice thing is Blue Apron advertises on a lot of podcasts, but I can speak from experience. They're actually really, really, really awesome. They're inexpensive, they're easy, and they offer really, really cool exotic food. Blue Apron is actually the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. There's a lot. I've actually used all three, and Blue Apron is the best. They've established partnerships with local farms, which is really cool. If you guys are California listeners, I'm sure you love local. We're always pushing that, but it's great. And they can deliver to 99% of the continental U.S. They're kind of pushing this new family plan, which is cool because it used to be just couples and like a 2-person Blue Apron option, but now there's a family option, which is great. And just so you guys know, cooking together actually builds strong family bonds. Research shows that Blue Apron families cook 3 times more often than regular families, which is really cool. In terms of these upcoming meals, listen to this. Try not to get hungry listening to this. They have spinach and fresh mozzarella pizza with olives, bell peppers, and ricotta. This sounds good. Sweet and sour salmon with bok choy and carrot and ginger fried rice. And, oh man, Parmesan crusted chicken with creamy fettuccine and roasted broccoli. Really, really, really good stuff. Reasons Blue Apron is the best. They're affordable. It's less than $10 per person per meal, which is reasonable even if you're getting groceries.
Yeah.
Whereas this has the convenience of a delivery service. There's variety, and that's my other favorite thing. I don't know if you guys heard, but there were some exotic dishes there. They'll give you things like panko breadcrumbs and like really kind of exotic sauces that you'd never get on your own, but they'll give you the portion that you need for your recipe so you can like cook really variable foods. It's flexible, it's easy, and it's fresh guaranteed, which is great. It comes in a freeze-packed box, and it's like, I feel like I'm dumb. Like, I feel like I'm not good at this stuff, and they make it really, really easy. So listen up. I'd highly recommend Blue Apron. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free. You heard me right, free, with free shipping as well. Wow, that's really, really good. By going to blueapron.com/buzz. That's blueapron.com/buzz. You'll love how good it feels, how good it tastes, and how easy it is to create incredible home-cooked meals, so don't wait. Again, that's blueapron.com/buzz. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
Look at that.
Awesome.
And it's food related because Pete was on the Rachel Ray show, which makes
look
food.
at that.
And he goes over to Julie, very, very stressed out about the encounter, actually. And when he comes back after having talked to Julie, I feel like this is kind of the first time we've really seen Pete off of his game. I personally loved seeing the character of Pete like deer in headlights like that. I thought it was a really fun twist. And he starts talking to Elsa, Did this surprise you guys that he started pushing this material on Elsa? Did this feel consistent with Pete's character?
It was funny because it's like, do you not have any sort of emotional intelligence or ability to read someone's facial expressions? Like,
That kind of shocked me too.
as a comic, like you see her look of horror on her face. She's literally, she's just in shock. She's like disgusted and appalled right now.
Have you guys ever done this though? I mean, we're all on camera people. Have you ever been on camera and something gets off, and instead of like navigating back to what's good, you just kind of keep going, and like you feel like it's getting worse and worse? I feel like
I feel like
especially
I have.
live, yeah, especially
It's
live,
It's
I
tough.
know.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're in your own head and you're not really paying attention to
Yeah, but-
anyone. You're like, how am I coming across as? And you're not in it completely.
But to follow what Mina said, I mean, Pete's a sensitive guy. I mean, he can really read situations well. He can read other people, and I think that if he saw that he was hurting someone, he would stop. And I think he did see it. So it's kind of weird that he didn't stop. Like
We've seen this before though once, and I'll tell you when. I think it was in the pilot when he's talking to that Syrian woman. And he's like, "Oh, are you from Syria? I thought we didn't let you guys in."
Yeah, I remember that.
And so
yeah,
it
that's
does
so
feel
bad.
like it might be Pete's like Achilles heel that like when he's in a bad situation,
He makes it worse.
he makes it worse.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I agree that he's very sensitive
Yeah.
one-on-one, but maybe on stage, and it's probably the sign of a green comic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he just kind of escalates the issue.
But my favorite part in that whole scene, though, is when he's like trying to do the math and he's like 52 times 52 and someone blurts out 2,700. Like, just
That's
gets it right
if
away.
math is right. That's
It's
2,700.
2,704.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's far off.
I did think that was
I
like
did the math.
hilarious. I don't know if you guys thought that was funny, but that was
So
for me
funny.
maybe the funniest moment of the
That
season.
was the best scene
I was
of the
cringing.
season.
I was cringing.
Yeah,
It was
like,
very
"Arr."
cringe.
I don't know. What's it called? Schadenfreude, when you like
Yes.
get really excited at other people's embarrassment.
Yes.
Yeah, you like revel in it.
What was I going to say? Oh, I wish Pete were here so we could ask him, because I wonder if that was an early thing for him where when he got in a rough situation, he kind of pushed that. But we'll tweet at him, maybe he'll answer. So obviously the episode ends. We learned that the blowjob woman, Elsa, is Rachel Ray's mom.
They talked about blowjobs a lot this
A lot of blowjobs.
episode.
They
Artie
did.
Lang had his own bit about blowing people in jail.
A lot of genitals.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
That was a great
That was
thing. Yeah, we
funny.
saw Artie again, Rachel Feinstein.
And
so.
the dick pic etiquette, like if someone sends you something, you have to send it back or it's rude. I've never heard of that in my life.
I mean, I think that what's scary most about the Artie thing is that I actually was like, that makes a lot of sense. I actually might, if I ever go into jail, that might be my strategy.
There was a lot of this very sound logic, for sure.
It's like, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Anything I'm missing in this episode? I'm trying to think of what else we talked about.
I don't know, there
Julie.
were so many funny moments. I can't.
Let's talk about some of the funny. What were people's favorite lines from this episode? I can start if y'all want.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think in general, just like all the clam talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I think there was like maybe 5 times when a female's private parts were referred to as a clam, which I just was very tickled by that. Also, I'll stop using the word tickled to describe that situation.
Yeah, I thought that
Thank
too.
you. How about you guys?
You guys go ahead.
I think there was a couple lines. I liked when right at the start when the warm up the production person told him,
Schmitty.
Rachel has no idea who you are and that is good.
Yeah. It's a very true thing too
Yeah.
about production, right? If like the high ups don't know who you are, that's
It's
a
like
good sign.
you're doing a good job.
You're doing a
Everything
good
is
job.
good. You don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, I thought
So-
that was a very like good entertainment industry observation.
I don't know why I laughed really hard at this part, but it was when Vanessa Bayer was on and she was talking about like overcoming things. She's like,
Yeah.
and the guy I went to prom with left me, and she's like, and I got prom queen, and everyone's cheering, and then when everyone's cheering, she goes, or runner up, same thing.
That was really.
that was
Maybe it was runner up. That was
Yeah.
great. Good call.
That whole bit was so, I mean,
So
representative of how these talk shows
Yeah.
are. Like, how people applaud for, like, these ridiculous,
that's so
empowering
I know.
things.
Vanessa,
She's the
that's-
best.
She's
Yeah.
hilarious.
She's funny.
She
Yeah.
grew up in
The thing that made me laugh was, and I think also because I rewatched it with you, when Pete was like, I'm tripping, boo.
tripping,
And
boo.
then it shows the African American lady and like her facial expression in the audience. Yeah, you pointed that out and it was really funny.
I have to imagine that was the editor because I
Yeah.
don't know who edited this episode, but that was the perfect close-up to use. It was such a subtle distinction.
It really was. It
For
was
those
great.
who want to go back and rewatch the episode, after Pete kind of appropriates the "I'm tripping boo" moment, there's one black lady in the audience who's like, "That's not okay." It's like such a good moment.
So funny.
Um,
there were a lot.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
It was a really fun episode. I'm kind of sad. There's only one more. You know.
I can't believe there's only one more. I think there's a lot that
fast.
has to be like
Unfolded.
and
At least we're,
a
like,
lot has to take place.
Relieved knowing there's another season after.
Yeah,
That's true.
There's
Yeah.
another
That's true.
season. Well, speaking of what else has to unfold, should we go ahead and talk about some predictions?
Yeah.
Cool.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Anyone really excited to talk about predictions?
I don't know what to expect anymore.
No.
This is really.
Do we
hard
think
right
we're
now.
done with Julie?
No, no.
No, and
They
I
did not just introduce her for one
Yeah.
episode with that much detail,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, there's no way.
She's got to be back. There's money involved. There's a
There's
lot of
money
money
involved.
involved. Leaf is. I mean,
Yeah. I think you're right. It is funny though because I do feel like this show will sometimes kind of introduce something and then.
Take
I,
it. Take
I
it.
think you're right though. I do think we'll see Julie next episode.
I think his ex-wife is totally coming back.
Jess too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jess has to come back, but I don't think she's gonna want him anymore. I was saying that all season, and I thought that Jess was gonna come back, wanting him back, but now I think she's gonna come back in a way where she's like, "You're screwing me over, Pete. Like, help us out here."
Oh, because of the new twist.
Yeah.
So wait, it's gonna be Pete versus Justin Leaf.
It's gonna be, yeah, pretty much, and Pete and Julie.
Guys,
maybe.
what if Pete and Julie happen?
I think there's a chance.
If
Plus,
Pete and Julie happen, then what's he gonna do with the
don't-
money? Because he gets part of the money too, right?
Well,
Unless they have a prenup.
that's what Jess is gonna be. Jess is gonna find out about Julie, and that's gonna make her jealous. Now
Yeah.
that Julie's chasing Pete.
Yeah,
But Julie's not interested in Pete anymore. She's like, I can't believe I wanted to have sex
But
with
are
you.
we sure that it's
Yeah.
over that quickly?
I hope they don't take
Uh.
this too far. I will say, like, it would be weird to me if they left all this, like, this love square on a huge cliffhanger because it doesn't really feel like something I'm super interested in continuing to explore next season.
Right.
I like Jess. I think I like the Pete Jess Leaf dynamic. If it becomes like a money thing and Pete's involved in the divorce, I don't know if I want that. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but
I feel like the only person I could see Pete with is someone, in terms of like, if he were to date a stand-up comedian, it would have to be someone who has like the same humor that Ellen DeGeneres has, for
Interesting.
instance. Like, kind of like
the only
clean-
problem with that is I don't know if you
But-
know this, but Ellen would not be interested.
Oh, no way, she's a lesbian?
She's
I
a
had
lesbian.
no idea. I had no idea she was Portia
Portia.
de Rossi.
Porsche, luckiest woman on earth.
All these years.
Well, tell us how you really feel.
I love Ellen.
I'm not a big fan of even the introduction of the money
I kind
idea.
of agree.
It's like, does it really need to be part of the show? I feel like there's so much more material, other comics, anything. The money idea, especially with a lot of money involved,
Right.
kind of distracts from everything else. It seems like.
I hope I agree with you, and I hope we don't see it being a huge component to next episode.
I think it will be though.
Do you?
I think he's gonna have the option of being with Julie, not being with her, but maybe she's gonna give him a cut if he does what she wants.
That's interesting.
And then he's gonna make a decision whether not to take what she's offering or help Jess, the woman that he loves. That's what Leaf was using against him.
That's a good point, Josh.
Like, this is some
Almost no
weird
matter
game
what he
theory
chooses,
game.
no matter what he chooses, it's kind of got money involved.
Yeah.
Either side. So it's. I hope that they put that to rest by the end of at least next episode.
I think they will.
For
I have
next
a
season.
feeling this season will end with something pretty clean. Even if it's Pete in a really bad situation, I don't think it's going to be like something that we pull through the next season.
Doesn't it have to end this season with him in a bad situation?
Oh, yeah, for
Right?
sure. Yeah, I think it's going
Don't we
to.
need that? Like,
Yeah.
That's all we need. We
I
can't
hope
have
it's
him
like something kind of like where he's at his low, but he's still optimistic. Those
There-
are my
there's
favorite
like a-
moments.
yeah.
There's a grain of hope.
It's
Yeah,
gonna
silver
continue.
lining.
Yeah.
I guess that's my prediction. It's gonna hit like he's gonna reach the highest point of the season, right as he then falls to the lowest point.
He crashes.
He crashes.
And I think that would fit with the kind of the title and just the season run. Leave us for next season excited again because it
Agreed.
can't be successful,
Yeah.
Right.
like super successful.
Yeah, I
Is
totally
he gonna
agree.
stay in another hotel room tonight? Does he have the means? Is he gonna get fired? That's what I want
That's a
to
good
know.
question.
Maybe he'll
I don't
stay
think
with
he's gonna
Elsa.
get fired.
I think he is fine. I mean, he's barking. They showed him barking at the end of the
Oh
episode.
yeah, I think he got
Yeah,
fired.
but
from Rach.
I think he still has a shot to somehow
I don't know.
wiggle his way
Rachel
back
knows
in
his
there.
name now.
Yeah, Rachel knows his name now. That's true.
Oh no.
Well, I think with that, guys, that pretty much completes our coverage for episode 7 called Julie. Guys, as always, thanks so much for tuning in to AfterBuzzTV.com. Again, if you're watching, thank you so much. Please comment. We'd love for one comment to show up in one of our videos, but
Just one.
just one. If you comment on this video, we'll
Uh-oh.
for sure shout you out
There you
next
go.
week.
That's the incentive.
That's what everyone wants
That's a
is to
good
be
deal.
shouted out on an after show. But guys, my name is Jeff Graham. Thanks so much for tuning in. You guys can find me online at Jeffrey C. Graham, and hopefully we'll see you next week for the final episode of season 1 of Crashing. It's been a good one.
It has been. And my name is Mina Wahab. You can find me on Instagram at Mina Makes Magic.
I'm Josh Rodriguez. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Josh_Rodriguez_.
That's the underscore artist.
Yes.
I am done for the season. I'm not here.
Michael.
So I just want to say it's been fun, guys.
It has been really fun, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
And
Thanks
we'll
for
see
being
you
here.
guys next season. My name is Mike Rippe. You can catch me on social media at Mike Rips.
Guys, that's it. We'll see you next week, Monday at 4 p.m. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.
care.
Hi.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.